most cases. So I'm always going to assess before interacting with that animal. I'm going to assess with me from a distance. I may be a trigger. It's not personal. Also, that cat may not be feeling well, which makes people approaching them harder. We have to consider all of this. And then again, I'm going to monitor during the interaction and adjust my approach based on that. So we're going to look at everything, right? Tension in body, eyes, ears, tail, where is the body? So we're not just looking at one part, we're looking at the whole picture. And we all know, based on my first webinar, cats don't become red or bite out of nowhere. There are usually a lot of signals prior to then that many, including myself, were not taught. So it sometimes appears as if cats just go to the red. But once you are empowered and have that education and can better understand cats, you can identify those earlier signals and adjust your approach or be aware of what's going on to prevent the cats from going red. So again, just a quick example, we start with that green, and then as that cat, let's say it's that the trigger keeps approaching or whatever may be happening, understandably, they continue to escalate. Just like if one of you came to threaten me, I would do displacement behaviors, avert my gaze. I may then vocalize, I may then but eventually I will punch you, even though I'm very friendly, because aggression is a normal communication tool, right? It's not my first thing I want to do. So when it comes to considered approach foundations, what we like to look for is overall, we want to avoid looming or reaching out, right? Even this type thing, right? Like let's say this is the cat and my finger's here. That's way too close. Or even with a dog. I know we're talking about cats, but it's the same thing. I want to speak and move quietly, so not how I lecture, but I'm talking to humans, so it's okay. I want to avoid abrupt movements to the best of my ability. Like if I'm tossing a treat for a cat or a dog, I use a wrist. I don't do that. Even with an animal that isn't exhibiting high fear and stress, I'm minimizing my movements to the best of my ability because I understand that that can be really scary, even for an animal that is exhibiting minimal stress. But once I start moving like that, it begins to escalate, right? I'm going to avoid a full frontal approach and direct eye contact. And I'm going to turn my body sideways as I begin to approach, especially if that animal is fearful. I'll be honest, in most to all interactions I have, I'm just using a side approach now. It's just second nature. And then I'm going to begin to incorporate touch. So I'm not going to just approach a cat, touch. I may approach, wait 5 seconds, and then touch, right? So again, I mentioned incorporating that touch gradually. I have a few videos, but that's more handling related things. But again, I'm not just approaching cat, injection, go, right? I'm approaching cat, touching, assessing, giving that injection, and or choosing to give that injection somewhere else based on how that initial approach was. So I'm adjusting my approach and handling to that, how that cat takes my touch. I'm going to respect that cat's preferred space, so I may examine the cat or interact with the cat in a cage. If I have a really fearful cat and I'm doing a cage cleaning, I'm going to lure you to the other side, or you're probably already in your hiding spot that we've provided because we're great. I'm going to place a towel over that hiding spot and clean on the other side. You don't need to interact with me, especially if you're showing signs of fear. You should not be forcing interaction with this cat. Like, hey, you hide, cool. I'm going to clean over here. Or if I'm doing like a blood work or exam, in many cases, I'm doing it in their carrier. I'm going to do it where they prefer. If I'm going in an exam room or in a cat-only ward, I'm going to avoid having, to the best of my ability, people coming in and out constantly. If I have a really fearful cat, I'm going to locate them higher up, like place them higher up and not so close to the door, right? Because this is a lot. And what can I do? I can put them higher up and farthest away from the door, right? For sure. I'm going to identify where they prefer to be touched and give the injection based on that, what I kind of mentioned before. In the cases I can, I'm going to utilize consent-based interactions. So the amount of human-directed, petting and petted, directed, all this aggression that I see as a behavior consultant, in many cases, it can be managed and or prevented if we just taught people body language and consent. Many cats do not get interacted with consent. We start without getting it, and then we end actually on a bad note. Like they're averting their gaze, they're shifting their weight, they're looking at your hand, they're actually biting or swatting your hand, or they're just running away. That started and ended badly. So a consent-based interaction is a cat approaching you or being near you with relaxed body language. And as you can see there, I wasn't here or here, I was here, and that lean in is pretty intense. And then when I do pet, I only pet once or twice on the head, neck, or shoulders, which is where most cats prefer. And then I remove my hand. If they want more pets, they ask. And as you can see, he's like leaning his whole body. He's purring very loudly. And of course, with your cat, you may say, oh, we'll do a few strokes. You know your cat. Just like my husband can come up to me and make out with me. But if one of you lovely people did, that would be inappropriate because relationships matter. And sometimes I see people forget that and they're like, my cat interacts with me like this. So every cat I work with should be like that cat. And I'm like, whoa. So a safe thing is, hey, I'm going to get consent. That cat chooses to approach me, or I approach that cat in some cases, and that cat's exhibiting mostly relaxed body language. And if I put my hands like here, or they might be already going in, lean in, pet once, twice, remove hand. If they just smell your hand, no disrespect. They're not asking for pets. You remove their hand, your hand. It's great. And just a little bit about cat carrier etiquette. So I'm not going to play this whole video, but this is an example of me entering a room with just a cat, free roaming room. And you're going to see when I first approach, I'm using that side approach. I'm avoiding direct eye contact. I'm like, what's up? I reach my hand, not obviously I'm a distance from her, and she's like, eh. And for context, I had to give, this cat needed an exam and some veterinary diagnostics. So, because if I was cleaning this cat's room or something like that, I would probably just, hey, go chill. Like, I'm still going to use considerate approach. I'm not going to approach you or interact with you immediately. But let's say you guys were doing like some enrichment time, or again, you needed to interact with her in some way. I would do it like this. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to start. Sorry for wobbly. This is iPhone reality. So I was like, oh, let me just toss some toys. I'm just getting a vibe of what, and she's like, dude, I don't care. So then I sit here, and I notice when I move closer, her body language does not change at all. Because sometimes you moving closer, you'll notice, understandably, a change. This cat had no change, really. And she's like, you're cool. But she didn't lean in. She's like, what was that? So in this case, she didn't lean in, and I still petted her because this was from like a long time ago. I'm a beautiful, chunky lady. And I don't think it was wrong, but I think it's important to share because sometimes if they're exhibiting, especially because if I have to interact with them, right? So I petted her a few times, and she actually starts to, you guys kind of saw that lean in, like hardcore, super duper lean into my pets, and starts to soften. So that's where, again, I'm assessing that body language. And then she becomes so comfortable that and also this is really helpful for me because I get to examine her gait and the way she moves and stretches from a veterinary standpoint, which was really helpful also because this cat actually had some underlying medical pain and some other things. And you can see she's like chill, like tail up and curved. Please pet me more. Please pet me more. And then she actually starts to go into my lap.
girl. What are you doing? Hmm? What? You're so funny.